Have you ever set a big, ambitious goal for yourself? Maybe it was to get in shape, write a novel, or finally learn a new language. You start with a burst of motivation, feeling unstoppable. But then, after a few days or weeks, life gets in the way. That motivation fades, and you find yourself right back where you started, feeling a little more frustrated than before. What if the problem isn't you? What if the entire way we think about goals and self improvement is fundamentally flawed? What if the secret to remarkable long term change isn't about massive effort or superhuman willpower, but about something much, much smaller? This is the core question at the heart of James Clear's groundbreaking book, Atomic Habits. The title itself gives you a clue. An atom is the smallest fundamental unit of a larger system. And an atomic habit, as Clear defines it, is a tiny change, a 1% improvement that seems insignificant on its own, but when repeated, becomes the building block of incredible results. We often convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action, but Clear argues that this is a misconception. He illustrates this with some simple math. If you can get just 1% better at something each day for a year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. The opposite is also true. If you get 1% worse each day, you'll decline down to almost nothing. Your habits are the compound interest of self improvement. On any given day, their impact is negligible. But over months and years, the effect can be enormous. Perhaps the most powerful story of this principle in action is that of the British cycling team. For nearly 100 years, they were mediocre. They had never won a Tour de France. Their performance was so underwhelming that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe refused to sell them bikes, afraid it would hurt their brand. Then, in 2003, they hired a new performance director named Dave Brailsford. His strategy was something he called the aggregation of marginal gains. The plan was simple: improve every single thing you could think of that goes into riding a bike by just 1%. They started with the obvious things like redesigning the bike seats to be more comfortable and rubbing alcohol on the tires for better grip. But they didn't stop there. They tested different massage gels. They hired a surgeon to teach the athletes the best way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They even figured out which pillow and mattress led to the best night's sleep for each rider. They painted the inside of the team truck white to spot little bits of dust that could compromise the finely tuned bikes. Individually, these changes seemed trivial, almost obsessive, but together they compounded. Within just 5 years, the British cycling team dominated the 2008 Olympic Games. They did it again in 2012, and soon after, a British cyclist won the Tour de France, and they did it again and again. In a 10-year span, they achieved an unprecedented run of success. They didn't do it by aiming for a single revolutionary breakthrough. They did it by accumulating hundreds of tiny atomic improvements. This brings us to the second major idea from the book. Forget about goals. Focus on systems instead. This might sound counterintuitive. Don't you need goals to succeed? Clear argues that goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. What's the difference? If you're a coach, your goal might be to win the championship. Your system is how you recruit players, manage your staff, and run practices. If you're an entrepreneur, your goal might be to build $1 million business. Your system is how you test product ideas, hire employees, and run marketing campaigns. Here's the problem with a goals-first mentality. Winners and losers often have the exact same goals. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every job applicant wants to get the job. The goal itself doesn't differentiate anyone. What differentiates them is their system, the daily habits and processes that get them there. As Clear puts it, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. A system of 1% improvements is what makes success possible. So, how do we build these systems? This is where the practical genius of Atomic Habits truly shines. Clear breaks down the science of habit formation into a simple, four-step framework. Every habit follows this loop: cue, craving, response, and reward. And for each step, there's a law of behavior change. The first law is to make it obvious. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to initiate a behavior. Your phone buzzing is a cue to check it. The smell of coffee is a cue to pour a cup. Most of our habits are so automatic that the cues are invisible. So, if you want to build a good habit, you need to make the cue as obvious as possible. Want to practice guitar more? Don't leave it in the case in the closet. Put it on a stand in the middle of your living room. Want to drink more water? Fill up a bottle and place it on your desk first thing in the morning. A great example from the book is about a woman who wanted to remember to take her medication each day. It was a simple task, but she kept forgetting. Using this law, she implemented a tiny change. She simply moved the pill bottle from inside the medicine cabinet to right next to the faucet on her bathroom sink. Her sink was already a strong habit cue. She brushed her teeth there every morning. By linking the new habit to the old one and making the cue unmissable, she made it effortless to remember. The inverse is also true for bad habits. Make it invisible. If you want to stop mindlessly snacking, don't leave cookies on the counter. Put them away in a hard-to-reach cupboard. The second law is to make it attractive. The craving is the motivational force behind every habit. What you're really craving isn't the habit itself, but the change in state it delivers. You don't crave smoking a cigarette, you crave the feeling of relief it provides. To make a new habit attractive, you can use a strategy. Clear calls temptation bundling. This is where you pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, an engineering student in Ireland loved watching Netflix but knew he needed to exercise more. He was a clever guy, so he hacked his stationary bike and connected it to his laptop. He wrote a computer program that would only allow Netflix to play if he was cycling at a certain speed. If he slowed down for too long, his show would pause. He bundled the temptation of watching Netflix with the habit of exercising, making it incredibly attractive to hop on the bike. For bad habits, the inverse is to make it unattractive. Reframe your mindset. Instead of thinking, I'm giving up a treat, think, I'm improving my health and saving money by not buying this. The third and perhaps most crucial law is to make it easy. The response is the actual habit you perform. Human behavior naturally follows the law of least effort. We are wired to conserve energy. The more energy a habit requires, the less likely we are to do it. You don't need more motivation. You need to make your good habits easier to start. This is where Clear introduces the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read before bed becomes read one page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes. The point isn't to get results in 2 minutes. The point is to master the art of showing up. A habit must be established before it can be improved. Once you've mastered the first 2 minutes of showing up, you can build on it. The inverse for bad habits? Make it difficult. Increase the friction. If you watch too much TV, unplug it after each use and put the remote in another room. That little bit of added friction can be enough to stop you from starting the habit. Finally, the fourth law is to make it satisfying. The reward is the end goal of every habit. The problem is that the rewards of good habits are often delayed. You don't get a six-pack after one sit-up. The rewards of bad habits, however, are often immediate. The pleasure of a donut is right now. The consequence of weight gain is far in the future. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification. So, to stick with a habit, you need to find a way to feel successful right away. One of the best ways to do this is with a habit tracker. Simply putting an X on a calendar each day you complete your habit provides immediate, satisfying evidence of your progress. It creates a visual streak that you won't want to break. The book tells the story of Benjamin Franklin, who carried a small booklet with him everywhere and made a mark each day he adhered to one of his personal virtues. It's a simple trick, but it works because it makes the progress tangible and satisfying. For a bad habit, the inverse is to make it immediately unsatisfying. If you're trying to save money, every time you skip an unnecessary purchase, immediately transfer that exact amount of money into a savings account labeled European Vacation. You've now made the reward of saving immediate and visible. These 4 laws are the toolkit for building better habits. But there's one final, deeper layer to it all, and that is the power of identity. Clear argues that the most effective way to change your habits is to change your sense of self. True behavior change is identity change. The goal isn't just to do something, it's to become someone. Most people start by focusing on what they want to achieve. These are outcome based habits. A much more powerful approach is to start by focusing on who you wish to become. These are identity based habits. The goal is not to read a book, the goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, the goal is to become a runner. Every time you practice a habit, you are casting a vote for that identity. Every time you write a page, you're casting a vote for being a writer. Every time you go to the gym, you're casting a vote for being an athletic person. Think about two people trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This statement implies they are still a smoker who is trying to be something they're not. The second person says, "Oh, no thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a small difference in language, but it signals a massive shift in identity. It's no longer a sacrifice. It's just a reflection of who they are. So here's the thought to leave you with. It's not about one life defining moment. It's about a lifetime of tiny atomic moments. It's about the 1% choices that accumulate into a new identity. So ask yourself, who do you want to become? And what is one tiny, almost laughably simple thing you could do today to cast a vote for that identity? Don't worry about revolutionizing your life by tomorrow. Just start with one page, 1 minute of meditation, one walk around the block. Start with one atomic habit and watch as the compound interest of your choices creates a future you could have only dreamed of.